I'm writing this from what used to be my childhood bedroom, except it's not mine anymore. It's not anyone's anymore, really. In 3 days, the new owners take possession, and I'll never step foot in this house again. The house where my dad taught me to ride a bike in the driveway. The house where my sister took her prom photos on the staircase. The house where we buried our dog Max in the backyard under the oak tree. The house my mother sold without telling me while I was fighting for my life in rehab. And if you think that's the worst part of this story, just wait. It gets so much worse. If you've ever had a parent betray you in the worst possible way, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is going to make your blood boil. And comment below if you think what I did was justified or if I went too far. My name is Daniel, and I'm 29 years old. I've been clean for 8 months now, which is the longest I've been sober since I was 19. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was a mess. Pills, mostly. Started with a prescription after a car accident, ended with me stealing from my own family to feed a habit that was killing me. I lost jobs, relationships, my self-respect. But the one thing that always remained constant was this house. No matter how bad things got, no matter how many times I fucked up, this house was home. My dad died 6 years ago from a heart attack, sudden and brutal, and after he was gone, this house became even more sacred to me. It was the last physical connection I had to him. My mom, Patricia, took Dad's death hard. They'd been married for 32 years, and she kind of lost herself after he passed. I get it. Grief does terrible things to people. But about 2 years ago, she started dating again. At first, I was happy for her. She deserved companionship, deserved to not be alone. Then she met Rick. Rick was 54, never been married, worked in consulting, which seemed to mean he was perpetually between jobs. He had this slicked back hair and wore too much cologne and drove a BMW that I'm pretty sure was leased. From the moment I met him, something felt off. He was too charming, too interested in how much my dad had left Mom, too quick to suggest expensive vacations and renovations to the house. My younger sister Emma felt it too. He's using her. Emma told me about 6 months after Mom and Rick started dating. We were having coffee, and she looked exhausted. He's always talking about investments and business opportunities, and Mom just nods along like she understands what he's saying. Danny, I think he's after her money. I confronted Mom about it once, gently. Mom, I just want to make sure Rick is treating you right. Some of the stuff Emma's been telling me. She cut me off immediately. Emma is jealous. You're both jealous that I'm finally happy again. Your father is gone, and I'm allowed to move on. Rick makes me feel young again, makes me feel like life isn't over just because I'm 63 years old. I'm not saying you can't be happy, I'm just saying be careful. Careful. That's rich coming from you, Daniel. How many times have I bailed you out? How many times have I paid your rent when you got fired for showing up high? How many times have I lied to your father about where you really were? Don't lecture me about being careful when you can't even keep yourself sober. That hurt. It hurt because it was true. I was still using back then, still in denial about how bad things had gotten. So I backed off. I stopped questioning Rick, stopped voicing my concerns. And that was a mistake that would cost me everything. Pause right here and tell me in the comments, have you ever been gaslit by a parent? Because what comes next shows just how far my mother was willing to go. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now because you need to hear how this ends. 8 months ago, I hit rock bottom. I overdosed in my apartment, and if my landlord hadn't found me when he did, I'd be dead. I woke up in the hospital with Emma holding my hand, crying. Mom was there too, but she looked angry more than concerned. The doctor told me I needed serious help, that I was on a path to death if I didn't get treatment immediately. Emma had already researched rehab facilities, and there was one about 3 hours away that had a bed available. It was expensive, $40,000 for a 90-day program, but Mom said she'd pay for it. This is your last chance, Daniel, she told me in that hospital room. I'll pay for rehab, but if you relapse after this, I'm done. I can't watch you kill yourself anymore. Do you understand? I understood. I was desperate and scared and ready to finally get clean. So I went to Clearwater Recovery Center the next day. It was brutal, detox was hell, and the therapy was even harder. They made me confront every terrible thing I'd done, every person I'd hurt, every lie I'd told. But slowly, day by day, I started to feel human again. I started to remember who I was before the pills took over my life. The program had strict rules about outside contact. For the first 30 days, no phone calls or visits. After that, limited supervised calls once a week. Emma called every week like clockwork, asking how I was doing, telling me she was proud of me. Mom called twice in 3 months. Both times, the conversations were brief and awkward. "How are you feeling?" she'd ask. "Better. The program is really helping. I think I'm finally getting somewhere." "That's good. That's really good, Daniel." "How are you? How's the house?" "Everything's fine. Don't worry about things here. Just focus on getting better." Looking back, I should have known something was wrong. Mom was being too evasive, too quick to get off the phone. But I was so focused on my own recovery that I didn't push it. I trusted her. That was my second mistake. I graduated from the program after 90 days. Emma picked me up, and I remember feeling so hopeful during that car ride home. I'd been clean for 3 months, had tools to maintain my sobriety, and was ready to rebuild my life. I asked Emma if we could stop by the house. I wanted to see Mom, wanted to show her that her investment in me hadn't been wasted. Emma got quiet. "Danny, there's something I need to tell you before we get there." "What? Is Mom okay?" "Mom's fine. She's not at the house anymore." "What do you mean she's not at the house? Where is she?" Emma pulled over to the side of the road and turned to face me. She looked like she was about to cry. "Danny, Mom sold the house. She and Rick moved into his condo downtown about a month ago." I tried to stop her, tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. She said it was her house and her decision. Comment below right now. Would you ever forgive your mother for this? Because I'm still not sure if I can. And smash that subscribe button because the betrayal gets even deeper. I couldn't process what she was saying. "What do you mean she sold the house? She can't sell the house. That's our house. That's Dad's house." "I know, Danny. I know. But legally it was in her name. Dad left everything to her when he died. She had every right to sell it, even if it's morally fucked up." "But why? Why would she sell it? She loved that house. We all loved that house." Emma took a deep breath. Rick's been having some financial troubles. Something about a business deal that went bad, debts that needed to be paid. Mom said she was helping him get back on his feet, that it was temporary, that she'd get the money back. Danny, I think he convinced her to sell the house to bail him out. I felt like I was going to be sick. How much did she sell it for? $400,000. It was worth at least $550, but she accepted the first offer because Rick said they needed the money fast. Where's the money now? I don't know. Mom won't tell me. But she's been talking about Rick's new investment opportunities, some cryptocurrency thing that's going to make them rich. Danny, I think it's already gone. I made Emma drive me to the house anyway. I needed to see it with my own eyes. When we pulled up, there was a sold sign in the front yard with a sticker that said closing soon. I sat in Emma's car and stared at that house for 20 minutes, and it felt like watching someone dig up my father's grave. Every memory I had of him was tied to that property, and now it belonged to strangers. "I need to talk to Mom," I finally said. "Danny, maybe wait until you've calmed down." "No, I need to talk to her now." Emma gave me Rick's address, and I took an Uber there. I'd been clean for 3 months, had worked so hard to rebuild myself, and in that moment, all I wanted was to use. The cravings hit me like a truck, but I held on. I held on because I needed to confront my mother while I was clear-headed, needed her to see what she'd done. Rick's condo was in a new development downtown, all glass and steel and expensive. I buzzed their unit, and Rick answered. "Yeah." "It's Daniel. I need to talk to my mother." There was a long pause. Then the door buzzed open. I took the elevator to the 14th floor, and Mom was waiting in the hallway. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. Or maybe I was just seeing her clearly for the first time. "Daniel, you look good. How was the program?" "How was the program? Are you serious right now? How was the program, Mom?" "It was hell. It was 90 days of facing every terrible thing I've ever done, every way I've hurt people, every mistake I've made. But I did it. I got clean. And I came home to find out you sold our house. Dad's house. Without even telling me. If you think what she did was unforgivable, drop a comment saying unforgivable and hit that like button. And please subscribe because there's still so much more to this story. She flinched but held her ground. That house was in my name, Daniel. I had every right to sell it. Legally, maybe. But morally. Mom, that house was the last piece of Dad we had left. Every room has memories of him. And you sold it to fund Rick's scam? Because that's what it is, right? Some business deal gone wrong that he needed you to fix. Rick appeared in the doorway behind her. Watch your mouth, kid. You don't know what you're talking about. I ignored him, kept my focus on Mom. Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't sell Dad's house to give the money to this guy you've known for less than 2 years. Rick had an investment opportunity that required immediate capital. It's going to triple our money within a year. It's smart financial planning, Daniel. Something you'd understand if you'd ever been responsible with money. Responsible? You're going to lecture me about responsibility when you just sold a $400,000 house for a cryptocurrency scam? Mom, do you hear yourself? It's not a scam. Her voice was rising now. Rick knows what he's doing. He's a businessman. He's been successful. He's been unemployed for 6 months. I was shouting now too. He drives a leased BMW and lives in a rented condo and somehow convinced you to liquidate your biggest asset to fund his gambling addiction. Because that's what this is, Mom. He's not a businessman. He's a con artist, and you fell for it. Rick stepped forward. I think you should leave. I think you should give my mother her money back before I call the police and report you for elder abuse. Elder abuse. Mom's face went pale. Daniel, how dare you? I'm 63 years old, I'm of sound mind, and I made a choice about my own assets. You're just mad because you thought you'd inherit that house someday. But guess what? You don't deserve it. Not after everything you've put this family through. That hit me like a physical blow. I never expected to inherit anything. I just wanted you to not throw away the one thing that connected us to Dad. I wanted you to not fall for an obvious scam. I wanted you to at least tell me what you were planning before you sold our home. Your home. Daniel, you haven't lived in that house in 5 years. You were too busy stealing from me to pay for drugs to care about that house. Now you're clean for 3 months and suddenly you're the arbiter of family values? Please. I was in rehab, Mom. The rehab you sent me to. And while I was there fighting for my life, you erased our family history to impress your boyfriend. Do you know how fucked up that is? Rick moved toward me. I said get out. Or what? You'll do what, Rick? Hit me. Please. Give me a reason to call the cops. Comment below if you would have handled this differently or if you would have done exactly what I did. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button because you need to see what I did next. Mom stepped between us. Both of you, stop it. Daniel, I think you should go. Come back when you've calmed down and we can discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. You made your choice. You chose him over your own family. Over Dad's memory. Over everything we built together. I just hope when Rick disappears with all your money, and he will, you remember this conversation. You remember that Emma and I tried to warn you. I left and went back to Emma's apartment where I'd been staying. She took one look at my face and knew it had gone badly. I told her everything, and we both just sat there in stunned silence for a while. What are we going to do? Emma finally asked. I don't know. Legally, she has every right to sell the house. We can't stop her from giving Rick money. We can't force her to see what he is. So we just give up? Let her make the biggest mistake of her life. I thought about that for a long time. And then I remembered something Dad used to say. Daniel, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Mom had shown me who she was. Someone who would choose a con artist over her own children. Someone who would sell her late husband's house to fund a scam. Someone who would use my addiction as a weapon when I called her out. So I decided to believe her. Over the next 2 weeks, I did something I'm not entirely proud of but don't regret. I started documenting everything. I hired a private investigator to look into Rick's background, and what we found was damning. Rick had been married twice before, both marriages ending in divorce after he drained his wife's bank accounts. He had 3 bankruptcies, multiple lawsuits from creditors, and had been investigated. though never charged, for securities fraud. He was exactly what I thought he was, a professional con artist who targeted vulnerable women with assets. I compiled everything into a folder and sent copies to Mom, Emma, and several of Mom's close friends. I included a letter. Mom, I love you, but I won't stand by and watch Rick destroy you financially. The enclosed documents show his history of fraud and manipulation. If you choose to ignore this evidence, that's your right. But know that Emma and I will not be there to pick up the pieces when he's gone and your money is gone with him. You get to choose Rick or your family, but you don't get both. Daniel, tell me in the comments, did I go too far by hiring a PI? Was I wrong to give her an ultimatum? I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. The response was immediate. Mom's best friend Carol called me within an hour of receiving the documents. Daniel, is this real? All of this? Every page. The PI is licensed and bonded. Everything is verifiable. Oh my God. Does Patricia know? I sent her copies. Whether she reads them or not is up to her. Carol organized an intervention. She got several of Mom's closest friends together, and they all confronted her about Rick. I wasn't there. Carol thought it would be better coming from her peers, but Emma was. She told me later that Mom broke down crying when she saw all the evidence, that she'd admitted she had doubts but had been too embarrassed to admit she'd been scammed, too proud to admit her kids had been right. The confrontation with Rick happened 2 days later. Mom finally demanded to see proof of where the money from the house sale had gone. Rick claimed it was tied up in investments that would mature soon. When she pressed him for specifics, account numbers, anything concrete, he got angry. Started yelling at her, telling her she was ungrateful, that he'd done everything for her. That's when Mom finally saw him for what he was. She kicked him out, changed the locks on the condo, called a lawyer, but the money was already gone. Rick had transferred most of it to offshore accounts that would be nearly impossible to trace or recover. Of the $400,000 from the house sale, only about $35,000 was left in a joint account Mom had access to. The rest was gone, and Rick was gone with it. Emma called me crying. Danny, Mom wants to see you. She wants to apologize. I didn't want to see her. I was still so angry, still so hurt. But I went anyway, because she was still my mother, and somewhere under all that pain and betrayal, I still loved her. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. She was pale, thin, her eyes red from crying. We sat in Rick's, now her, condo, and she started talking before I could even sit down. Daniel, I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. Rick was using me, and I was too blind to see it. Or too proud. I convinced myself you and Emma were just jealous, that you couldn't stand to see me happy. But you were trying to protect me, and I threw it back in your face. I sold your father's house, the house we raised you in, the house full of memories, and I sold it to a con artist who took everything and left. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make this right. You can't fix it, Mom. The house is gone. The money's gone. Dad's memory has been disrespected in the worst possible way. Those things can't be undone. She started crying. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But Daniel, please don't hate me. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your mother. And I'm so proud of you for getting clean, for getting your life together. You're stronger than I am. You faced your demons and won. I ran from mine and lost everything. Comment below if you would have forgiven her at this point or if the damage was too deep. And if you're not subscribed yet, please hit that button because the resolution to this story is coming. I wanted to stay angry. Part of me wanted to walk out and never speak to her again, to make her feel the abandonment and betrayal I'd felt. But I'd spent 90 days in rehab learning about resentment, about how holding on to anger only poisons yourself. And I realized that staying angry at Mom wouldn't bring back the house. It wouldn't bring back Dad. It would just destroy what was left of our family. I don't hate you, Mom, but I'm not ready to forgive you either. What you did was wrong on every level, and you need to own that. You need to accept that you made a choice that hurt your kids, that dishonored Dad's memory, that destroyed the last physical connection we had to him. And you need to live with that. I will. I'll live with it every day for the rest of my life. And you need to make better choices going forward. You need therapy. You need to work through whatever made you vulnerable to Rick's manipulation. And you need to rebuild trust with Emma and me, which is going to take time. A lot of time. She nodded, still crying. Whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. That was 3 months ago. Mom's been in therapy twice a week, and she started attending a support group for scam victims. She sold the condo, couldn't afford it without the house money, and moved into a small apartment. She's working part-time at a library to supplement her social security, which is humiliating for her but necessary. The money Rick took is gone for good, and she'll never financially recover from this. Emma forgave Mom faster than I did. They have lunch every week, and Emma helps her with bills sometimes. I've seen Mom a handful of times, brief visits that are still awkward and painful. We are not okay yet. We might never be fully okay. But we are trying. The house closed 2 weeks ago. The new owners are a young couple with a baby on the way. I drove by yesterday and saw them painting the shutters, planting flowers in the garden where Mom used to grow tomatoes. Part of me wanted to hate them for taking what was ours, but they looked so happy, so hopeful. They don't know the history of that house. To them, it's just a house. A place to build new memories. Maybe that's for the best. Maybe Dad's memory doesn't live in walls and rooms and oak trees. Maybe it lives in me and Emma, in the values he taught us, in the way he loved us even when we were difficult. Maybe the house was never the point. But I still miss it. I still drive by sometimes and sit in Emma's car and stare at that front door, remembering Dad teaching me to play catch in the yard, remembering family dinners around the table, remembering the last conversation I had with him before he died. He'd told me he loved me, that he was proud of me no matter what. I wish I'd believed him then. I wish I'd gotten clean while he was still alive to see it. As for Mom, I think she finally understands what she lost. Not just the money, but the trust, the respect, the relationship she had with her kids. She traded all of that for a few months with a man who never loved her, who saw her as nothing more than a bank account to drain. And now she has to live with that knowledge every day. Thank you for listening to my story. Please leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Did my mother get what she deserved, or is karma too harsh? Should I forgive her completely, or is it okay to keep my distance? I read every single comment and I need to know I'm not wrong for still being hurt. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. And if you know someone dealing with family betrayal, share this video with them. Sometimes we all just need to know we are not alone. Thank you for being here with me through this. It means everything. People ask me if I regret exposing Rick, if I regret forcing Mom to face the truth. The answer is no. Would I rather have the house back? Yes. Would I rather Dad was still alive and none of this ever happened? Obviously. But I can't change the past. All I can do is protect what's left of my family and try to move forward. I'm still clean. 8 months now, and counting. I have a job at a warehouse, nothing glamorous but honest work. I have an apartment with Emma as my roommate. I have a sponsor I call when things get hard. I have a future, which is more than I had a year ago. Mom made her choices, and she has to live with the consequences. Rick got away with it, which isn't fair, but that's life sometimes. The house is gone, and I'll never get it back. But I got something else in return: clarity. I know who my mother really is now. I know what she's capable of, both good and bad. I know that love isn't enough if it's not paired with respect and honesty and basic human decency. So here I am, sitting in what used to be my childhood bedroom for the last time, writing this story and trying to make sense of it all. In 3 days, I'll walk out that door and never come back. The new owners will move in and make this house theirs, and my family's history here will fade into nothing. But I'll carry Dad with me wherever I go. I'll carry the lessons he taught me, the love he showed me, the man he was. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it has to be.